Okay, I hit the streaming button. Let me quickly check if this works. And we will see. Okay, this is working very well. Hello everyone, my name is Protasilaos, also known as Prot. This is just a spontaneous stream. I thought I would do it just a couple of hours ago, and I made an announcement. No, actually an hour ago, not even 2 hours. Let me tell you what this is about. I have the Denote package for Emacs. Maybe you know, you have heard about it before. And Denote is a package that is simple out of the box, simple in terms of its idea, in terms of what it wants to do, yet highly capable. You can do a lot of things with it, with some basic principles. In terms of code, because this will be a technical live stream, I want to write some unit tests. In terms of code, Denote consists of small functions that tend to do one little thing. It is not big stuff. You will see what I have here. It is small stuff, and one function feeds into another function. And this way it is easy, I think, to understand what is happening here. It is much easier to read this sort of code and also the documentation as well that goes with it, rather than to read code that spans hundreds of lines and is deeply nested. For that, you really need to be an expert and have intimate knowledge of the program that you are dealing with. But you can see here that these functions are small. Most of them are small. Perhaps there are some exceptions, and where there are exceptions, I would like them not to be there. I would like to eventually rewrite that code, make it smaller, basically. Let me see. So there are lots of stuff like this, and you can see already, I'm just clicking here at random. This is an occur buffer that shows me an outline of the file. It is a custom function of mine, but it is basically a wrapper around occur, and it is just giving me the top level functions, the top level forms rather, in the given file. Let me see. And so you can see in many cases the documentation is longer than the actual lines of code. And I think this is perfectly fine. I think this sort of code is accessible. It is code that you can understand even without being an expert in denote.el, if that sort of expertise is required anyhow. And anyhow, what I want to do is to write unit tests. Hello everyone in the chat. I am doing well. I am fine, thank you. Good day, good evening. Maybe I can increase the font size here so that it appears on the recording, because while this is a live stream, it will be recorded, and that's why I don't worry about it. If I feel like I can do a live stream, I just do it, and I don't worry about scheduling and make sure that people learn about it ahead of time. I don't really care, because you will get to see it anyhow later. So for me, it doesn't really make a difference. Anyway, let's get started. I want to start writing unit tests. I have never written unit tests before. I understand the rationale. I understand the idea of what they do, why we need them, etc. I think that the denote.el code base is already nicely written for this sort of task, because each function should do something that is easy to predict, easy to test, easy to deconstruct. And I want to write unit tests for this. I want to learn how to do it. I know that Emacs has the ERT, we can see here in the menus. Let's do it like this in the info manual. The Emacs Lisp regression testing, this is built into Emacs. And the idea is that we will be using the ERT to run tests, unit tests on our code. I will read this and then I will start writing, and then hopefully I will make sense of it. I have checked it in the past and it seemed to be simple, but in the past I didn't understand the use case. Why would you ever need unit tests when you can just read the code directly? Of course, if you have done unit testing before, you know why you need it. But at the time, for me, because I have no prior experience with programming, this was obscure. This was the sort of thing that doesn't really make sense. It is not self-evident. The reason we need unit tests is because we can run automated testing on our code, and we can, if the tests are properly written, catch errors. Errors that we introduce in the code, and then we can fix them more easily without having to deal with them and then with the ensuing bug reports. So you will be writing your first Emacs unit test today. Okay, that's good. Oh, that's good. So we will be doing the unit testing today then, together. And let's see how it goes. And there is an example here in the info manual that I have in front of me of the introduction to ERT. They are quoting some snippets from pp.el, and they are showing exactly what the idea is, where inline in the original code they have comments that mention the expected value. And what here they are telling us here is that ERT formalizes this and introduces a common convention which simplifies Emacs Lisp development, since programmers no longer have to manually find and evaluate such comments. Meaning that if I were to come here and I evaluate this, why don't I get to see the... Okay, let's see. It produces a string which is a list of quoted symbols A and B, and it also has a new line, so yes, this is correct. And let me see this. Indeed, it is the same as the previous one. And what about this one? And this one returns a quote that is quoted and also a symbol. So it is a symbol quote that is itself quoted. Anyhow, the idea is that instead of having this in your code, you will be writing a separate suite of tests, and those tests will be running automatically or on demand. We will see. We will get to that part. And the idea is that we are defining, the way I see this here is we are defining a test and we are giving it a name. And this looks exactly like how we define functions in Emacs Lisp. You have the defun keyword, then you have the name, and then you have the list of arguments, followed by the documentation string, and then the actual code of what the function is doing. And yes, it is telling us that the syntax looks familiar to defun. And this example defines a test that will pass if the three calls to equal all return non-nil. Okay, what I understand then from this is that we can have a set of tests, a bundle of tests, and each of those has to evaluate two non-nil in order for the whole test, for the entire set, to return non-nil as well. Should is a macro with the same meaning as CL assert, but better error reporting. Okay, we will look into the should macro because I have no idea what CL assert is. Each test should have a name that describes what functionality it tests. Test names can be chosen arbitrarily because they are in a namespace of their own, which is good, but should follow the usual Emacs Lisp conventions of having a prefix that indicates which package they belong to. Wonderful, that's very good. Okay. The empty parentheses in the first line don't currently have any meaning and are reserved for future extension. The docstring describes what it would describe. Okay, all clear. The body of the test can be arbitrary Lisp code. It should have as few side effects as possible. Each test should be written to clean up after itself, leaving Emacs in the same state as it was before the test. This makes perfect sense, of course, meaning that if we are to set some variables, we will be doing them inside of a lexical scope, inside of a let binding, and so that we don't have any side effects for the rest of the environment for the Emacs that we are currently running. Hello, Prot, thanks a lot for the note. Right, I have seen your name before. I know your actual name. I have seen your username before, but I don't know how you pronounce it. So, alternate ved, maybe. But yeah, anyway, you are welcome. You are welcome. Let's see what we have then. How to run tests. Or on the command line. So either we can do it inside of Emacs or on the command line by running Emacs in batch mode. I have a notion of what the batch mode is. I've never done it. I have never had a use case for it. We will see. MX ERT, and that presumably uses completion, because you have ret and then you have to give it something, and that will run the tests. Okay, we will get to this. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's go to the first one, because I still want to write a test before running a test. Let me do this, folks, because I am using a larger font size. I'm not sure if it is large enough for you. This is, maybe I should even go a bit larger, like this. Let me tweak it a bit, because right now I don't like this font to work with. Wide motion here. I want this. Let me see if this is okay as a font size. I think this font size is okay for you, but if anyone watching thinks that this is still too small or not good enough, just let me know. So what I want to do is place this in a new frame, and in this other frame I will go ahead and switch to denote and start writing my tests. Let's see what we can do. I have two files here that are actual code. This is the core file, and this is an optional extension for the org dynamic blocks, meaning that probably I don't want to include the tests here. I would want to have a tests directory, and inside of this directory I would do denote test.el. Save this, because we have to follow the same naming conventions as with everything else we do. I don't know if we need all that stuff we have at the top here, but I will just copy it now. Actually, let's copy this. Commentary, work in progress, and 2, and like that, code. Okay, let's see. Did I copy everything correctly? Maybe here it has to be 2023 since this is new. Probably because this is not actual code. We don't need this. This looks fine now. Let's also delete this. Unit tests for denote. Fine. Let's see what we have. We want to be using the ERT, which means that we will have to require it, right? Require ERT and require denote. Let's evaluate this. Denote is already evaluated because it is part of my customizations with my Emacs init file. And let me check again the documentation here to see what we have. Let me copy this. Oh, sorry, where am I? Let me copy this and have it there as a test. So it should have ert def test name, etc., and then use the should macro. Okay, I don't need this anymore. Let me go to denote.el now. I have it here, denote.el, and let's start with the first functions. The very first one I don't care about. I want this one. Probably this font size is too big, folks, because it wraps everything and it makes it a bit awkward for me to work. And I will be extra slow if I have to do it like this. So yeah, let me just go to the large preset. Yeah, this should be okay. It still is large for my taste, but now it is better. Ert dev test. And we want to be testing this, but it has to have a unique name. So let's see what we can do. Denote test. And then like this. I'm not sure if this is the right way to name them, or if it would make more sense to have like the original name and then denote test like this. These are too long, but personally I prefer to have something that is specific and be longer. I don't really mind. But I'm not sure what the convention is. It wasn't clear in the documentation. Test. Test that returns. What does it return? Return path to silo if default directory is a silo. It shouldn't be called with a P at the end. This is a mistake of mine, because the -P at the end is shorthand for predicate, and predicate is generally a non-nil test. Strictly speaking, the returning a path value is a non-nil value. So strictly speaking, this is not wrong, but just reading the name, we may expect it to return T, to return non-nil, instead of it returning a path. But I will keep this for now because I don't want to get sidetracked. Test that the function returns a path. Maybe I can make this a bit bigger. Okay, like this. Let's see how to do it. It has 3 conditions. In 2 of those conditions, it will return a path. And in the 3rd condition, it will return a nil. I am reading here, just for you to know, I am reading this cond. So if the local variables are a list, return the first element of the list. Presumably this is a file system path. If it is a string, then return it as is. So again, I expect this to be a path. Otherwise, return a nil. Okay, let's see what we've got. Should And then if I were to run this, denote like this, should null, meaning it should be equal to nil. This is one test. If I evaluate this on its own, nil is one value. Null then of this returns true. Therefore, I expect this to be true. Let me first test this, and then I will add the other conditions. Emacs ERT run tests, and it is giving me this as a test. What is this? Denote. Okay, this is finished. Past one, failed, skipped, total, and what we can do in this buffer. Forward button, delete test, pop to timings, revert buffer, results, next test. Give me, there is no next test. How do I get to see this test? Return test at point for results. Passed, it says. Maybe if I type enter. Okay, come on. What does return do in this context? Push button. Okay. Okay, so this is a button. This should be documented here. This is an omission. They should have it here. Okay, anyhow, this passed. We have this. Just a second, because there is a comment in the chat. Still on Emacs 27.1, but yeah. Denote does not work on older versions of Emacs. I want to get it to work, but it really is a lot of work, folks. There is the compat library, which is a wonderful project. It was started by Philip Kaludersic and is now maintained by Daniel Mendler. I want to start using compat, but it is not trivial work. You have to make arrangements for it, and it's not just something I can do, because even if I set it up and everything, I still have to have an executable of Emacs 27 and start denote there, and not just, you know, make sure that it starts and it launches, but to also use denote in earnest to see that everything works. And that is not something I want to do right now and do it manually. It takes too much time. But maybe if I write unit tests, it's something that can be tested as well with Emacs 27, but we will see. We will see. And there is another comment about modus themes GTK. That would be nice, but especially when it comes to theming the toolkits, theming GTK, that is a pain. That is not something I would want to do, even though I would also be interested in having such a theme. GNOME now, the GNOME project is investing heavily in the lib Adwaita project. More and more GNOME apps are switching to it, so good luck changing the theme there. You will be able to change colors, but that is not really what we mean when we are talking about themes. Let's get to this here. It should return true for this one, and we need another test which should return a string, but this string should also be an existing file, even though here it does not actually check for that. Here we are just returning a string and we hope for the best, but because we are checking the dir locals, I don't remember right now, but I believe the dir locals will necessarily return an existing file system path because they are defined in a directory. Let us then assume that, I will check this later as well, but let me assume that it returns, it will do the check for me. It will return an existing path. String p then, this. And since I notice that I am writing this over and over, let's do ourselves a favor and do this. Let, and then maybe we can do, oh, sorry. Maybe we can do this and change it to path. Oh, what did I do? Path. Okay. It has to be a string. This should suffice, but let me make it actually. File exists p path and file directory p path. Let's see. I wonder why we would have to write two should though. Why can we not do one should and then wrap this in an or statement? But let me see if this returns something that is correct. ERT. Error. What is the error? Should. Can I click on this? Oh, no. Let me macro expand this. Since this is a macro, let me macro expand it. Emacs pp macro expand the last symbolic expression. And what does it do? Okay. List should. No, this is too abstract right now. Form description, so that is the gen sim. Let me see. Let's see. This is not, this would need more work because now I would have to check all those functions. Let's assume that should does the right thing now. But I don't like the idea of two should anyway. Let me do or. To me, this makes more sense. Or stuff like that. And okay, let's see. ERT, the thing. Okay, this returns true. This just says that it passed the test. I know that this is correct though, because if I do it like this, it returns nil. Let me go to my recordings because those are a silo that I can show on the screen. And if I evaluate this here, it returns a file system path. Okay, very well. All good. Let's delete that. I then assume that this test is correct. We will move to the next one. But let me check the chat just a bit. My message didn't send. It looks like the first should will fail when default directory is silo, as the value produced will not be nil. Okay, yes, that is good. That is correct. What Felipe says here. The first should would fail in that scenario, which is why the way I wrote it was failing. I think though it makes more sense to have it like this. But maybe you know better, you have done this before. But to me, this makes sense. Like you have an OR statement, this is standard Emacs, and Emacs Lisp, and you take it from there, basically. What do we have? Is the word orthodox banned? Because it doesn't show up on stream. I have no idea. I personally have not banned any word whatsoever. But if you just use a 0 there instead of an O, that would work for me. I don't know what is happening. Do you consider yourself religious? Asks AK here. The answer is no. I have said this a few times in my philosophy streams. Though I have no problem against religion and against religiosity broadly understood, I have no problem whatsoever with it. I think it has many positives. But as with everything in life, whether it is religion, whether it is a football team, whether it is a political party, a philosophical school of thought, and so on, it becomes bad, it is inwardly corrupted when we are fanatical about it. When we miss the point of what it is about and we go to great lengths with it. If you, for example, abuse someone because they do not support the football team that you support, this is no longer about the spirit of football. If you beat someone up because they are not the religion that you are in, this is not the spirit of religion, I assume, unless there is some religion that specifically tells you to do that, in which case we would need to talk. And you get the idea of what I am saying. Let's see. Set default direction such that it is assigned, then verify that the result is not nil. I could do that. Felipe says here that I could set a directory here to check that it is a silo, meaning that I could have a specific directory. The question is, how would I do that? Because suppose that I run this on another computer. On my computer, I know the path, but on another computer, I would need to basically have that directory. Maybe it would make sense in this test directory to also have it as a silo, but that could get very long then. I will keep this in mind. I will keep this in mind, and I will revisit this point to do. I will keep this in mind. Maybe, or let's have it like this: incorporate an actual silo in this test directory, and modify the test accordingly. Because it makes sense. It makes sense to have it test for that as well. Let's see what we have. Let me continue to the next one, which is the denote directory. Oh, this is a bit bigger. Return path of variable denote directory as a proper directory. Ert def test. Denote test, denote directory. Like this. Test that denote directory returns an absolute file directory name. Like this. Okay. Should, and the call to denote directory, it should return file directory P. That's one. But there is something, what is it called? Is it file absolute? File absolute. File name absolute P. Okay, great. File name absolute P. And again, we will do it like this. File directory P and the file absolute. Absolute. Come on. File absolute. What happened? What is this? file absolute, file name absolute, file name absolute. And we have this, let path again, denote directory like this, and here path. This is looking good. Let me see, ERT, and how does it get this default value? I don't have completion here, and it only gets the default value, but it's the one I ran before or something. Okay. Could there be another MXERT at point or something? Delete all test, describe, find. Next test, simple view. Okay. In the docs it said MXERT and then T. Let me see what that does. Okay. Okay. And do I need to evaluate? Okay, you have to evaluate it, otherwise it doesn't know. Okay, makes sense. And where is the other one? Okay, I think the interface here isn't very nice. For me, it would make sense to have something like, you know what, let me do a MXERT at point or something like that, and just give me that and don't annoy me with too many prompts. Maybe this exists and I just haven't found it, so please don't take this as me dismissing ERT right now. Jeff asks, what do you use to get that nifty to do with the date added? This is a custom snippet of mine, which comes from my dot files, the prot comment.el file. I won't tell you more about it now, but I can give you I can give you a link to my dot files. If for whatever reason SourceHut doesn't work for you, you can also check GitHub. Check the dot files, and generally my dot files include lots of useful Emacs Lisp code. You can take a look there. I would like to have an ERT at point. So if this does not exist, I will definitely write it, because otherwise this is too annoying. But let's proceed. Let's proceed to denote.el. This should work. This test should work. The denote directory has some side effects here, which we are not checking. It has the side effect, this make directory side effect, where it will create the denote directory if it does not exist. And that is okay, that is desired behavior, but it is something that we are not testing here, which means two things. The make directory part should be external to denote directory, and then I should be testing that this actually worked. But for this I have to learn if there is an error, if make directory returns an error. I can imagine a scenario where you are defining a directory in a folder that doesn't exist, in a directory that doesn't exist, or where you do not have right access, in which case make directory should fail. Let me see. Let's see. This is an interesting exercise, folks. Let's go to the other scratch rather. Let's see, make directory, and let me see if I can make it here testing. Let's call it prot testing, not to be confused with pro testing. Let's see, what does this do? Error. Okay, permission denied, blah blah blah. Great. This is what we need to do then. We need to have this outside. Here denote make directory, or let's call it denote make denote directory, which is explicit. Oh, actually, let me look at the code a bit. Let me focus on this because we would also get the when in this case. Okay, folks, we have something here. Denote make denote directory like this, much cleaner. Define denote make denote directory. Make the denote directory if needed. Make the denote directory and its parents if needed. Like this. Okay, make the variable denote directory and its parents if needed. Let's see what we have. Very well. Let me test this very quickly. If I go in the scratch that I was earlier. By the way, I normally use Vertigo, but I have said before that for live sessions I don't do it because I might accidentally expose some private data and I don't want to do that. Let's say denote directory, this, and this. I want to test, okay, if the denote directory is this and I run this, does it fail? Great, it fails. What about if it is the TMP? And let's add some parents. Path to denote and like this. Okay, it returns nil in this case. If I go here, oh, this is a thing of beauty. Very well. Let's kill this. And let's go to our test. Test denote here. Very well. I will need to document this. Make the creation of denote directory its own function. Very well. I will push the changes later. Let's not worry about that right now. And let's go and write a test. Def test denote test, and then denote make denote directory. Test that denote make creates the directory. Okay, this is a bit more tricky because I'm not sure how I would test this. Let's see, let me think about it. One way to test this would be to say let and then some file system path, and then see after the function is run if the file system path exists. But I don't know if that is the correct approach because this has the side effect of actually creating the path, which obviously we don't want for this case. This is a bit tricky. This is a bit tricky to do. Maybe we could at least check for the error. Should not. Maybe we could do the should not error. Let me check the documentation and see what we can do with it. Running tests interactively. I checked this earlier. And it has lots of things here. I will read those again at a later point. So probably there is something to do where we have the test for the test at point. Batch mode, I don't care about that now. What are these? Test selectors. A test selector. Okay. Okay, this is what I wanted. Nil selects no tests, selects all tests that have not been run. Isn't there something for the test at point? Why is this so difficult? Maybe I have the wrong expectation, of course, but it feels counterintuitive. You can give it a string and matches everything that is in the string. Okay, this is not what I want. How to write tests. The should macro. Okay. The should macro is similar to CL assert, but analyzes its argument for and records information that ERT can display to help debugging. Okay, fine. I don't know, as I said, what CL assert is, but this asserts that I do. But let's continue. In this example, should recorded the fact that 1 plus 2 is equal to 4, which should not be correct. Okay. In addition, provides should not. Oh, I missed it. Should not, which checks that the predicate returns nil, and should error, which checks that the form called within it signals an error. An example use of should error. Let's return to the first test then, because it would make more sense to have the or outside and should and should not. It should then be no, actually that would be more complicated. I like this more. If this is correct, I will keep it this way. Let's return here. Should not. Should error, which checks that the form called within it signals an error. Can I do should not error? Should... there it is. There is no should not error macro since tests that signal an error fail anyway. Okay, makes sense. So should not error is effectively the default. Okay. Meaning that it would be written how exactly? Should not error. So I should be checking if it returns nil. That would be the only way to do it. Should null and everything else means that it is an error, right? But if I do this, this will return true because this one works on the value of the denote directory. The default value is documents nodes, the value that I set as well. This will return a non-nil, rather nil, because it does the thing properly. Should null then, it should return nil. This is fine. Let me check the chat because I saw some more comments. I think I read these from Felipe. I may still be wrong, Felipe, about this. You will let me know. And anyway, this is me trying this for the first time. We will see how it goes, but I think the spirit here is correct, but maybe it's not idiomatic and maybe we can improve it. It would be alter not eved. Like E in the word red. Alter not eved. And ved sounds like red. Okay. No worry, it's not weird. You know, the whole point of usernames is to express what you want to have there. It doesn't matter if they make sense to others or if they are hard to read or whatnot. Let's see. Next function, folks. This is working nicely. I like the fact I like the code of denote.tl. I like the fact that I wrote the code in this way. And what prompted me to write denote, and what also prompted me to write code this way, is reading code that is not done this way. And when you read code that is not done this way, if you are not an expert, you will suffer. You will suffer greatly. If you are an expert, then of course you are an expert. But otherwise, you will want to go out and just, I don't know, break something. Test. Slug no punct to a file named slug. Ooh, how would we test this? Okay, test that slugifies a string. To slugify is to hyphenate, in this case, replace is to hyphenate the string and omit and replace, rather, let's be more specific, and replace with spaces this and this. You may say now, but you are writing the code, why do you need to write this sort of documentation as well? And the answer is because code is not self-evident to someone who does not understand the code. But natural language is easier to understand. And if you have a basic understanding of the code, and then you also read the docstring, then hopefully that empowers you to try things and to make sense of what this is doing. Put differently, don't be lazy when you are writing code. Write code in as clear a way as you can. And documentation is part of writing good code. Let's proceed. Should. What should this be? I don't really remember actually. But let's see. It should be equal. And it should be something like the function call slug no punct. And let's see. This is test like this. What should this become? Oh. This only removes the punctuation. It does not hyphenate. Even better. Test that denote slug no punct removes punctuation from string. Concretely, replace spaces, with spaces anything that matches the, and then this and that. Okay. This is test. Is this correct? No. Okay, because we have like that. We have two spaces here. Okay, great. Like this. But maybe I can have more punctuation here. It could be like this. What about this? True. Okay. This is a very long line though, and maybe I can have it like this. This looks good. ERT. Okay, let's run it on everything. No. This will annoy me, it seems. ERT for the thing at point. Come on. It doesn't even do it with meta n. Oh, this runs contrary to everything we know about Emacs. Come on. This. Anyway, I won't. If I speak, I am in trouble. Is unbound. Okay, let's see. ERT. Okay. No, meta-n works, so it's my fault. It's my fault because I hadn't evaluated it. So I take that back. Okay, very well. But if I am here, let's see, if I am here and I do ERT, it doesn't default to the thing at point. You have to press meta-n, which is the last one. And then meta-n again. No, so I won't take that back. This is still not good behavior, folks. This is not good behavior. Slug no pun. Felipe has written should equal something like that. Let me put it this here because in the YouTube comments there it's difficult. I think this is for the next one. I think this is, I also got mistaken because the no punct is just to remove the punctuation. I guess I added the slug here so that I have them all together, and meaning that this documentation string is wrong. I will write it better here. And I will actually copy this because this is good. Let's have it like this. And then remove punctuation from str. Concretely replace with spaces anything that matches those variables. This is good, folks. I think, Felipe, what you sent me here is for the next one. There is a missing quote here, but let's keep it there. And I believe this is for the hyphenate. Replace spaces and underscores with hyphen in str. Also replace multiple hyphens with a single one and remove any leading and trailing hyphen. This sounds very good. Maybe we can have this here. We have this like this, and then test that the thing slugifies hyphenates and hyphenates the string, and here punctuation from the string. Let's see. Hyphenates the string. It should also omit leading, and it should it should also omit leading and trailing negative space, as well as consecutive spaces, I think, yes. Multiple, as well as, no, let me copy it from here since this is better written. We don't need to duplicate things or to, rephrase them. Like this, slug hyphenate. What does this return? Okay. In which case, if we have multiple spaces like this, okay, let me then add underscores, spaces, underscores, spaces. And it should be this is test. I will add a test because otherwise it reads awkward. Like this. Let's see. True. Okay. Very well. Felipe also had the comma there. Let me see. No, the comma is preserved, so I assume the comma will not be there when we do the next function, which is the slugify one, because that also removes the punctuation. It brings those two together, which is very nice. def test, denote test, and then this one, test that denote slugify, slugifies the string. To slugify is to, let's write it here, down case hyphenate depunctuate and what else? And the spacing. How can we say this in one space? Compress, maybe? I don't want to say despace. That wouldn't sound correct. Okay, for now, let me think about this some more. And the remove spaces, and the and has to come before. And for remove spaces from the string. Let's see what we have, folks. Should then be equal. By the way, equal could be replaced with string equal, but equal looks better. Denote slugify. And I think now what Felipe has over there will work. It's the same idea, but let me do it like this. We have stuff. We have all this. This is a test, and I also have. Oh, what did I do? I also have the. Come on, what happened? Where did I put the alt caps? I changed it recently and I forgot. Oh, I did it there and I have, let's do it like this. And let's add pluses and equal. No, actually equals would be preserved. And maybe question marks like this. This is a test. Like this, and let's see, this is a test. This is a test. So yes, Felipe, what you wrote here earlier is for the slugify. Let me do it. Denote slugify. I was also confused with the first. Oh, invalid function. What was the error? Yeah, of course we have two here. It's like this. It's like this rather. Nil. Yeah, it would be like the same here. Okay, this is correct. We write this. We are good to go, folks. This is very promising. Yeah, you spotted it. Yeah, okay, there was, oh, what did I do? There is an extra set indeed, but no worries, no worries. I understood your intent. ERT def test. Let's move to the next one, folks. Denote test, and then this thing over here. Test that, blah, blah, blah. What does it do? Replace spaces and underscores with equals signs in string. Yeah. Okay. Also replace multiple equal signs with a single one and remove any leading and trailing signs. Replaces spaces underscores with this is done for the signature field of the denote file name. By the way, if anyone is watching this, the signature field is part of the current development version of Denote. It's still not widely available, unless of course you are building from Git. I want to extend the functionality of signatures so that they are the same as keywords and file titles, but this will require more work. And actually, I think the unit tests will be very helpful in this regard, because then I won't have to check all the conditions each time. I will be able to do it this way. But the signatures are a wonderful feature of Denote. There are many new features in the next version of Denote, folks. This will be a major release, but we will not get into that. Let's have it like this, and let's see. Test that Denote replaces with otherwise behave. Otherwise do the same as what is described in this. The use of the equals sign is for the signature field of the denote file name. Okay, and should what? Replace spaces and underscores with equal signs. Should equal. Let's do it. Denote slag put equals, meaning that if we have, let's reuse the same test we have here, like this, and like this, and this should be like this with the equals sign, if I got it right. Let's see, folks, what we have. Maybe we can replace it also here. It's true. It works. Yeah, this is the idea. Fantastic. I don't run the ERT tests each time because the interactivity is not as pleasant as I was hoping it to be. But I will fix that. I will definitely make it work for the thing at point. For me, this is not good. And if it does work for the thing at point, it is not intuitive how we should do it. In which case, I am also correct to point this out. I am sorry to say. Let's come here. Denote slagify signature. Okay. Okay, test that the thing slagifies the string for signatures. No, for signatures. For file signatures. Let me see what does okay. Let's use this. This is like otherwise. No, this is like except that it also accounts for what we describe in this one. And okay. My font size is a bit big, and so the wrapping here is rather awkward, but we will have to deal with it. Should, let's see, in this case I can just reuse the test from here, folks, and I guess could there be a way to write this again and rerun it for something else? Yeah, but I read in the documentation that this is not possible because this is reserved for the future. But I can imagine in the future you could use these as, you could reuse these basically. Let me see. This would return, denote slugify signature. Okay. Very well. And this is a test. Okay, this is the correct one. True. Okay, fantastic. Slugify and join. Slugify str while joining separate words. Where is this used actually? Okay. Because oh, I see now how this is working. Okay. The idea with this function, the slugify and join, is to be able to use it with the user option denote allow multi-word keywords. By the way, I want to introduce a breaking change because I think this is a bad default, and mea culpa for allowing it there for all this time. I think keywords should be one word by default. And the development version, have I ever written 0.3? We want this to be 2.0. The next version will be denote 2.0, folks. And let's see. Let me then go back to where I was here and tell people that this has changed as part of Denote version 2.0. If non-nil keywords can consist of multiple words. Words are automatically separated by a hyphen when using the denote command or related. The hyphen is the only legal character. No spaces, no other characters. If, for example, blah, 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 when nil, the default, do not allow keywords to consist, reduce them to a single word, blah, blah, blah. Protesilaos, no, like the author of the note encourages you to use single words for keywords and, if needed, rely on multiple separate keywords to derive meaning. Let's have it like this. Oh, come on, because it is interpreted as, let me do this a bit pretty, like this. Okay. Oh, come on, it won't let me. Oh, look at this. This is like an edge case because you have to have two spaces after a dot, and that's why it is complaining. Okay, I did this and I will review it. And okay, I have some other changes, so I won't commit this right now. But let's go here, folks. Our job today is to do the unit tests. Slugify keywords. Let's come back here. Def test. Denote test and denote slugify keywords. Test that this one. Oh no, I'm not here. It's not slugify keywords. Sorry. It's we are after the signature. We are here. Slugify and join. Like this and like this. Test that this slugifies the string while joining words. It's not entirely clear to me what joining words means in this case. Oh, I see by the code. In this context, to join words is to eliminate any space or delimiter between them. Should equal, and let's have this, slugify and join a string. Let's see if we have then slug hyphenate, slug no punctuation. So it will do the punctuation, in which case I want to also tell it about the others. Slug hyphenate. I wonder why we don't use denote slugify here. Slug hyphenate? Ah, because it is downcasing. Ah, okay. That's fine. Let's see what we have. So it does the same as denote slugify. In which case this, let me see, is this correct? Okay, great. This is a test. Equal? Yes. Okay, very well. Otherwise, this is like, and we want to get this. Excellent work. Slugify and join, and then slugify keywords, which is a list of strings. Okay, def test. But we are not checking if it is a list of strings. We are doing it implicitly by virtue of the map car that is there. Just to expand this so that you can see where I am. Let me actually have the truncation like that. We are doing it implicitly here in the map car. Because the map car accepts only a list, it won't work with a string. Thus, this will throw an error. But maybe we should have a test for the argument here. I'm not sure how I would do it here. Of course, it could be here, you know, like when keywords is a list, like this. When list P of keywords, then do that. And I think this makes more sense. Of course, it is implicit, as I said, in the map card. But I don't know. I don't know if we would need this. I really don't know if we would need this. This is more explicit, of course, but maybe it is superfluous. Because, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. Like, this is wrong because otherwise it will return a nil, whereas maybe we would want to have the error. You see, now this is where it gets tricky, because map car over something that is not a list will return an error. Whereas when will evaluate body if it is true, otherwise it will return a nil. The correct way, assuming that we want to return the error, is to do it like this. And then have the error and say, you know what? Is not a list, and then keywords like this. But again, I'm not sure if we need this. Let's see what the difference is. Can I evaluate this? And let's go to the scratch buffer over here, and let's do map car, and let's do identity. It doesn't really matter. And let's do it over some string like this, and this will return. Wow, it works actually. Oh, it works over... Oh, I didn't know this. It works over a string. Interesting. Today I learned. Apply function to each element of sequence. Ah, okay, so it's a sequence, therefore it works over everything, folks. Okay, in this case, we definitely need the error there. We definitely need what I just did. Okay, this is the upside of writing these tests, folks. You get to see the code, you get to scrutinize the code, and inspect each line and reason about it, and now I should get my error. Okay, this is good. Of course, I don't know now if signaling an error in this case is going to introduce some bug, because maybe we had the anti-feature where this was working before, and or it was failing silently some way, whereas now we will surface the error, we will make it apparent. I don't know what's the idea here. Should we have it? Should we not have it? I am inclined to say that we should have it. Thus I will leave it this way. Let's continue. Let's continue with the tests. And let's come here and let's do denote test and that. Can I add this to a register so I don't have to type it out the whole time? Test that this one. Sorry, I have to scratch my eye. Test that this one slugifies a list of strings. But that's not exactly what it is doing. Slugify and no, that is what it, yeah. The function also accounts for the value of the user option, blah blah blah. And okay, so we have now two scenarios to test. The first scenario is where we have a list of strings that should not be joined, and the second scenario is where we have a list of strings that should be joined. Should. Let's see if we can do this right. Should, and then I would say or, how I did it earlier, or equal, and let's have 1, 2, 3, but I also want to slugify them, right? Meaning that it would make more sense to have 1 and something like this. 1 spaces here, 2, and here it should be spaces, and have a few underscores, like this. And let's see what this returns. 1, 2, 3 as strings. This only slugifies the keywords. Test that slugify keywords slugifies a list of strings. Okay, it doesn't return a single string. That's fine, I have it correctly here. We want to test that then the return value of this is equal to a list of strings 1, 2, and 3. Like this. Is it equal? Yes. Or it should be, assuming or equal. Let me see how best to do this. Because now we want to let bind the value of this. Let be nil, like this, in which case that should be equal. I'm not sure if this is the most efficient way to do this, folks. Probably there is a better way, but this will do right now. Let's see if this is true, etc. 1 second. Let me remove this. And this, 1, 2, 3. Okay. What is the difference between them? How are we joining? Okay. 1, 1. Let's see. 1, 1. And 1, 1. Let's see. This should then be 1 and 1 second. 1, 1. No. How this should be? I am bamboozled. Let's see. 1, 1. Okay, 1, 1. Like this. And this should be 1, 1. Like this. Let me see. True. Can we see it like this? 1, 1. Okay, great. Let's see. No, we don't want or. We want an and here. We want to test for both conditions. And like this. Though I guess in this case we could have two different should, because these are semantically more correct, because there is no actual and happening there. This level of nesting uneases me. It's like too much. Maybe I can have it here and like this. It's a bit better. And here, and this returns true, and this returns true. Let me run this test, because now I'm not sure. I've never done a to should before. Emacs ERT. Oh, come on, I have to do it for the thing at point. And it returned the true. And I read somewhere about details. ERT results, find test, describe test at point. No. And what else do we have? ERT, and we have, can you do a details or something? Okay, let's not worry about this one. At any rate, I think I am making progress. I'm getting the hang of it. Let me check the chat if there is anything else. The others, I read them already. Thor says, you're a legend, Prot. Thank you. Though I don't think I am doing anything legendary here. This feels like standard work. And actually, this is the sort of work that I should be doing at the outset. I think having unit testing in packages improves code quality, and at least in principle. It improves code quality indirectly, because then you will be writing clean functions that you can actually test. That alone should be helpful. And Nick Lam says in Greeklish, Yasu Prot, Yasu Nick Lam. Yasu in Greek is the common salutation we have. Literally, it means health to you. So there is that. And Mado says, hey Prot, how do you get those fancy icons in the mode line, and what do they mean? These are emoji characters, and these come from my package called Not Much Indicator. The Not Much Indicator. Maybe I can go to my website. Actually, you know what? Check my protesilaos.com/Emacs, and you will find it. Not Much Indicator, and you will read the description of what those mean. But as you will read here, it says that the user can define one or more searches and display their counters. This is the idea, and these counters form a string which realistically will look like this for unread messages, bills, and love letters respectively. I am sending you this, and you can take a look. Of course, it has all my packages there, but when in doubt, the answer is probably there or in my dot files. Okay, where are we now? Let's go back to denote .el, and we are at the point here. Okay. Deslagify. Okay. This will be a long exercise until I write all of those. Let's have it like this. Test that the thing, app cases and app cases first character and D hyphenates string. Mado says I'm a GNUS user, so I don't know if I can integrate them into my workflow. No, you cannot. These are meant to work with not much. You could do something similar with GNUS, but it would have to be custom code. You would have to write it yourself. I used to use GNUS for a while, but I stopped using it because I was not happy with its search functionality. It felt to me like it was more difficult than it should be. Then I was like, I had this bright idea to go check the GNUS source code to basically figure out how I could do my own search facilities. And I dare you check the GNUS source code and tell me how it was. Because it's really not something you will see anywhere else. It has custom calls, macros like def foo, def voo, def I don't know, voodoo or whatever. It has stuff that nobody knows what they mean. It has zero documentation, like docstrings did not exist when GNUS was written or something like that. And it is very difficult to get into it. You really have to spend a considerable amount of time to understand what is happening. And this goes to the theme of what I am doing here, like write code that people can actually read without having to invest a non-trivial amount of time on it. Of course, GNUS is wonderful. It does a lot of great things. I have no problem with it. But I would like it to be more accessible. Let's continue, folks, with this. This thing here, it should equal, and we have a slug now. Let me see, can we get a slug from somewhere nearby? And interesting. This is something I have not tested. Let's see what we have. Like this. Okay, this is a test like that. It should work. And let's see, but I want to also test for the signature. This is actually something I have not tested. If it is like this, let's see, what does this do? Oh, okay, this does not deslugify the signature. Okay, we may have some work to do here, folks. Deslugify. And upcase first char in string and d hyphenate string inverting, but this is not for the whole name, right? And run on title. Okay, this is only run on the title, so that's why it is like this. Upcase first char in string and the hyphenate string inverting denotes slugify. The intent of this function is to be used on individual strings, such as the title component of a denote file name, but not on the entire file name. Put differently, it does not work with signatures and keywords. Meaning that I should probably rename this to something else. Let's do a to-do. Review name of this to better explain, to signify what the docstring warns about. Very well. Madoc has written something else. Let's see. They revamped GNU search to better integrate with different search engines. Okay, great. Does this work with multiple NN mail dir backends? Because this is the use case I had. I remember that they revamped it, and I was still a GNU user at the time. As for the special language, yeah, but coming from hyperbole, GNU is actually legible enough. I have not read hyperbole, but with this in mind, I probably won't. Let's go to the next one. Here, okay. I would like then this to be to test also should not, we said, should not, and then have this up. Should not. Let's do this. And yes, so should not. Oh. And this is true. Should not equal. Meaning that this should be nil, right? What am I missing here? If it returns non-nil, abort the current test as failed. Ah, oh no, I don't want to do that. Should null, and thank you very much. Like this, yes, this is what we want. Let's run this test because I want to be sure. Okay, it worked. Great. Let's see what we can do. The next one is here. Okay, straightforward. Ert def test, then insert this, then insert this. Test that. Probably I should write a snippet or something so that I don't do this the whole time. Returns non-nil if file is empty. Test that file mtp returns non-nil on empty file. Should equal. Normally, if let me run this. What would be a non-empty file here to test with? Because we would need to have a let, and we will need to have a file, which is let bound because we don't want to have it for the rest of the environment. We want this to be lexically scoped, as I said earlier. Maybe the, how is it called? User init file? User, come on. User init file, that's how it's called. User init file. Okay, great. Fantastic. But in this case, I don't need the let. Equal. Let's see. Oh, file mtp. Ah, okay. In which case I could do just null. File mtp. Return non-nil if the file is empty. Okay. So in this case, it should not return nil. It should return true. 1 second. Return non-nil if the file is empty because user init file is not empty. But what if it is? It could, in theory, be empty. I'm trying to think now. Oh, this is wrong. This is a wrong assertion, folks. Because there is a scenario where somebody runs this and the user init file is empty and this doesn't do the right thing. So what should I let bind here to get a file that is empty and which, I know what I could do. Should let the file be make temporary file. How is it called? Make temp file. Denote test. Like this. Yes, thank you very much. Let this be, and then this should be T, like what we have here on file, like this. But again, then I don't need the let. What's the point? Or I could actually have it like this, test, and then can we do delete file? I actually have not done that before. Delete file from here. Delete file, of course. Delete file, named file. Technically, this creates a side effects, but I don't know if this is a problem or not. I am not entirely happy with this, but maybe this is a standard. So I will have it like this. Now we have a problem because delete file will probably return nil afterwards, which means that of course I could do when let file, and then if that runs I would know, but I want to run my function. How would we do this? We could do a prog1 where you will return this and then you will do that. Maybe this makes sense. Let me check the chat because I think there is something scrolling there. GK Sudo says that they went back to the age of dinosaurs and used rmail, but GNUS is still nice. I haven't used rmail, but I am curious because it seems to be simple, and I am sure there is a good use case for it. So yeah. Mado says, I don't want to bother your work, amazing work, but I'm not familiar with ERT. I found Buttercup to be much more straightforward and use and digest. Is Buttercup part of Emacs? Find the library because I haven't heard it before. Buttercup. Okay. If it's not part of Emacs, let's see. Is it a package? Buttercup. Behavior-driven Emacs Lisp testing. It is heavily inspired by the Jasmine testing framework for JavaScript. I have no idea what that is. A test suite begins with a code button describe. Okay, I will have to check that, but the fact that it is an external package works against it in this case, because I would prefer to not have a dependency. But if it's better for this purpose, I would otherwise have no objection to it. Mando says, if I understood your question correctly, The new GNU search library does work across backends. It creates an ephemeral NN select backend that can be made permanent to display searches. Okay, but the specific problem I had was that I had 3 NN male dir. And I remember that you had to remove the prefix, you know, the directory prefix of the NN male dir, so that it could actually consolidate all the results in an ephemeral group as you described there. And at the time it was not working. Maybe they fixed that, in which case that would be great. But in the meantime, I switched to not much and I am happy with it. I mean not much.el because you already said that you use not much for the searches anyway. But if you can make it work with all 3, then that's fantastic, or with more backends for that matter. Let's see, what are we doing here? Let's do the ERT for this, ERT for this, and this returns true, folks. Very well. And did it delete the file? Let me go to my TMP. TMP denote test. This is the one I created before. Let's not worry about that. Denote test. Kill it. Let's come back here and let's run it again. ERT like this. Let me go to the TMP. It's not there. If I search for denote, it's not here. Oh, this is a thing of beauty. We are good to go. File is notep. Oh, okay. This is more interesting. But again, this does not have side effects. This is nice. But I need to see it now. What is the behavior here? I don't know. What should we do in this case? Should we have an individual test for all those? Or should we just check the function as we do all the time? Because if there is an error anyway, the whole function will return nil. Or rather, not an error necessarily, but a nil value. This is what I mean. So I guess we don't need to check all those individually. Let's proceed then. Ert def test and the denote test and the thing and the test that the thing checks that file is a denote node. And let's use this. And what we have, it should, let's see. The file regular p, does it check if the file exists? Let me see. If I do, let's go to the scratch buffer. And let's do file regular p for example, I will do something in the TMP, denote testing.el. Nil. Okay. Meaning that this checks that it exists. Return nil if file name does not exist. Okay. Fine. Which means that we have to do another make temp file like we did here. And we are getting the hang of this. We have to do another make file like this and then run the thing on it. Here. Prog1 again for file and then delete the file, which is the file. This will not be true though, because now I have to have a denote style identifier. If it has the denote style identifier, everything else doesn't matter, I think. It should also have seconds. Let's have 0, 0. And this, and here, like this. Let's see. Nil. Because it also has to be part of the denote directory. Okay. This is the nice thing about LED binding. It is wonderful that we have this functionality, actually. Denote directory. And let's say that it is the... how do we specify the temporary directory so that it works everything? Temporary file directory. And this is what? A function. Thank you very much. Let's have it like this. This should return true now. No? Because of course it doesn't exist. What? What's the catch? It must have an identifier in its name and use one of the extensions. Okay. Let's call it .txt. Let's see. Nil. Oh. Now I am surprised. You know what? Let's actually... because when you do a make temp file, it adds some garbage at the end. How do we not do that? Suffix, so dir flag nil, suffix nil. It still adds the garbage at the end. What is the text? It's suffix add at the end. Okay. If it's non-nil, add it to the end. How about then an empty string? Hello? Okay, so there is some uniquifier, what I called earlier the garbage. It's not garbage, of course, it is very useful. But for my purposes now, it is not useful. Make temp file. Maybe we can see the source code and see what we can do. Expand file name. Okay. Now I understand what you're doing. Expand file name. And maybe we can do it like this. Concat. Thank you. The return value of denote directory, the function, plus that. And then we don't want anything else. And we want you to expand this file name. And what does this give us? Okay, this would be in my actual notes, but here it would be like this. Prog1. Why isn't prog1 correct? Okay, like this. Let's see, folks, what we have done. Nil again. Oh, come on. Maybe the function that I have here works with the... Let me see. Now? Again, nil. Okay, this is a more tricky test than I was hoping for. Temporary file directory. This is TMP. Let me just add this here so that I can... Concat, TMP, etc. Test. Let's also add the keywords. Keywords like this. Okay. Of course, I don't like what I am doing here, this whole thing, but let me see. Okay. Maybe I can make it a bit smaller. TMP. Okay. This looks correct now. and let the denote directory be this. Let's have it temp, and temp oh, let's do it not temp, let's do it tmp. What? Oh no. Okay, let's do it like this. Doesn't matter. TMP. Let me, instead of doing this, let me see what the file is here. What? Ah, sorry. TMP, okay. And if I run this on file, I am missing something obvious, folks, and I cannot see it. What do we have? Ah, this is the testing. Denote.el. Where are we? Must note must not be must be. Must not be a directory. Must satisfy file regular p. Its path must be part of the variable denote directory. It must have a denote identifier in its name and use one of the extensions implied by denote file type. Could it be that the expand file name is messing things up for me? And okay, I will have to continue testing this. I'm not sure what we have here. And temporary file directory. Okay. I will add a fix me for this. And let's have it like this. Comment out the thing. And let's come here. Fix me. It does not return non-nil, even though I am giving it what should be a file in denote directory. Okay, let's continue. File has identifier. Okay, very well. This should be easier. Let's have this here because we will use it. Return non-nil if file has a denote identifier. Okay, let's see. Ert def test, and then add this and this and this. Test that checks for a denote identifier. Identifier should but let me see actually what it does. It returns non-nil. This large font size is really messing me up. It returns the match. Okay. If I do should like this, does it work? Okay, yeah. This is all we want to do. Should true. We don't want to do should equals to because that's what we want. This is good. This is very good. I think I saw something in the chat moving, but let me see. Buttercup is on non-GNU ELPA, so yes, it is an external package and a dependency. However, it is great because it integrates nicely with CI out of the box, and it has a great mocking framework called Spies. So you can test your own tests, which much less code 2, with much less code 2, since Buttercup doesn't require you to write different setups and tear down code paths. Very handy, since ERT has very poor support for CI/CD out of the box. As for your query in GNUs, I should test, since I use one big MailDir server, which is a combination of all my accounts, and use not much to run through them. Okay, thank you very much. This is very informative, and I will check the details at another point. Note that for me, I don't understand many of the technical terms you are using here. I don't really know what a CI actually does. I know the CI/CD, what it actually does. I have heard those terms because everybody talks about them. I don't know what it means to have different setups and tear down code paths. I really am a beginner in this regard. But of course, that is something I would be interested to learn more about. Let me do another one, folks. I will be going soon, by the way, because I need to take my dog for a walk now that the temperatures are falling, as the night beckons, and my dog enjoys cooler temperatures. The node file has signature P. I presume this will be very similar, but let's see what we have. Can we maybe do it like this? Will it work here? No, what did I do? I have changed my key bindings and I keep getting, anyway, let me do it like this now and let's not worry about it. And here we have, and we want to test if it has a signature, sig, like this. Test that denote file has signature P, checks for a denote signature. And it is here as well. Let's see. Okay, great. Great. I am very happy to make progress here. I was expecting this to be more difficult, actually, but it turns out to be easy. Or at least, easier than I thought. File name directory P. Test that this one, what does it do? Return non-nil if file is a directory, or omit file if it matches the value of user options. Okay. Test that, returns non-nil on a directory. The function should return nil if the directory it checks for is matched by like this, by the user option, like this. Okay, should of course it should return true, but this will be again more tricky because I have to do let binding for adding directories to different places and then making sure they are not there when we exit the tests. It's the same issue I have here. It is doable, but I want to fix this first and then I will know how to fix the others. Let's leave it. Let's leave it at this. To do. Check the solution to the fix me above and proceed accordingly. Okay, I think this is a good place to call it a day, folks. Doing unit tests is very interesting. I had a lot of fun writing these. I am happy to do this exercise because this gives me a chance to scrutinize my code, review the functions one at a time, see what I can do with them to refine them. Already I made some small tweaks. There are more that I could change, and then proceed accordingly. This will benefit Denote because it will make sure that the code has gone through the rigors of the testing, and now we can trust that it works better. But also because it will help me clean things up and thus further improve the accessibility of what I consider an already accessible code base, perhaps with some exceptions, but I think it is quite good what we have here. That's all for today, folks. Thank you very much for your attention. I will now close the stream. I believe I checked all the messages, but just in case there was something else that I missed, just to be sure, I believe there wasn't anything else. Yeah. So I covered everything. Thank you very much for your attention, folks. Closing now. Take care, and I will talk to you again next time. When, I don't know. We will see how it goes. A message right now, very quickly. Let me see. Hello, audience. I'm just a guy who just enters this live Emacs coding session. I have no idea what's the general goal here. Do we have any specific goal to achieve? The answer is that you can check the live stream again because it is recorded. Thus, you can understand what I was doing here. The idea is that I am writing tests for my functions to see if they are returning the expected results. This is the idea. And for me, this is a very productive exercise. It is the first time I am doing this. This is the first package of mine that will have a unit testing framework. And I am happy to eventually do this for all my packages. Of course, that will take a lot of time because too many packages, and I cannot simply just do this without paying close attention to every snippet. That's all for today, folks. I suggest you read and browse the Git repo for Buttercup. Okay, I will do. I will check Buttercup at some point. Thank you very much, folks. Take care. Goodbye.